I don't really do book hauls that often, so when I do them, I tend to have a big pile. It also means that a lot of the books that I mention in my book hauls I've already spoken about before on my channel in some way, but in this case I've actually got quite a few that I haven't mentioned to you yet. So the first 2 books are ones that I got from the publisher, so thank you for that. I got them for free in exchange for an honest review. The first one is Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen M. McManus. This one came out in January, and I've already read it and done a full review on it, which I will leave up in the cards. I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. The next one I got from the same publisher, and I didn't really enjoy it all that much. In fact, I gave it 1 star, and that was The Truth About Keeping Secrets. I'm not going to do a full review on this one because I didn't hate it enough to discuss it. I just didn't really like it. I found it quite boring. The next 2 books are ones that I got from my Secret Santa back in December. I've already mentioned them on my channel, but I wanted to mention the books again. The first one is Rosewater by Tage Thompson, and I didn't enjoy this. This is a futuristic science fiction set in Nigeria. It was awful. I gave this one 1 star. If you want, you can go back and look at my reading vlogs where I spoke about it a bit more, or maybe my January wrap up. It was just a really bad book, so I didn't enjoy it. The next one is the first book in an adult fantasy series. And I really hope I love this one because I've seen some really good things about it, and I would love to binge read another series at some point. I haven't done that in ages. Maybe this one will be the one, and that is Malice by John Gwynne. I think from watching other booktubers, this is a fantasy about people with elemental powers. Don't quote me on that because I'm not entirely sure I'm correct. It's about boys who become warriors and knowing the true cost of becoming a man, and the Black Sun and the Bright Star and champions and wars. And I just think it sounds really good. And now the next books are all ones that either I or Quill bought ourselves, so let's get into those. There are quite a few here. The first one is Educated by Tara Westover. I spoke about this one in my February wrap up because I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. This is a memoir about a girl who was raised as a Mormon and went through some very difficult things with an abusive father, mother, brothers. It was awful, but I really enjoyed the book, so I'd highly recommend reading this one. I loved it. The Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty. I haven't yet read this one, but if you can't tell by my face, I'm really excited to. I adored The City of Brass, and the only reason I haven't read this one yet is because I'm so freaking nervous that it's not going to be as good, because The City of Brass was flawless and perfect, and I'm scared about this one. It's also huge. So I need to set aside a weekend to read this one, I think. The Tattooist of Auschwitz. This is a fiction book about World War II, Auschwitz, obviously. It's about a guy who is the one to tattoo the prisoners. And I think he's also one of the Jewish people who are imprisoned there. Is that right? Or is he German? I don't actually know. To be honest, I don't really know much about this book. All I know is there's a love story with the tattooist and one of the prisoners. And I don't know if it's going to be inappropriate or not and uncomfortable, but everyone's been raving about this book, so I figured that I should pick it up, and it was there, so I did. Also, the guy at Waterstones gave me 2 book sleeves because they had some left over from some sort of publishing event that was going on at Waterstones Piccadilly. So I got 3 book sleeves, and I'm really excited to start using them. I haven't done yet, but I will. I'll put my Kindle in them, or in one of them, and my paperback in another, and it will be great. The next one is A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. I've been slowly working my way through all of Paul Tremblay's books. In case you hadn't noticed, I started with The Cabinet at the End of the World last year, and then I read Disappearance at Devil's Rock this year, and now I'm going to be reading this one very soon. And he's also bringing out some short stories which I have a review copy for, so I'm excited for that. This one is about a girl who seems to be possessed, and then she becomes the star of a reality TV show called The Possession. Years and years later, someone comes to interview the girl's sister, younger sister I think, on the events that happened back in the day, and apparently this one is one of his best, if not his best. Everyone raves about this one. Everyone was disappointed by Disappearance at Devil's Rock, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. I kind of want to start it right now, but I'm home alone, so I'm not going to. That would be silly. The Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson. This is one of the books in the spin-off trilogy in the Mistborn series. I'm not loving this trilogy, like this new era stuff, but I'm intrigued enough by the previous book, Shadows of Self, to read this, even though the next book isn't coming out for a while. To be honest, I pretty much just missed the characters from the original trilogy, so I might have to do a reread of that at some point. And these new characters aren't gripping me as much, so that's a bit disappointing, but I picked this one up anyway because I'm collecting all of Brandon Sanderson's books and reading them. The Emperor's Blades by Brian Staveley. I've had my eye on this one for ages, and I didn't realise that Tor had published it in the UK until I walked into Waterstones Piccadilly and saw it there. So I was very excited to find this, and I'm really excited to read it. It's an adult fantasy about two siblings. I think the Emperor has been murdered in this empire. Everything kind of goes to shit. His son is miles and miles away across the ocean, and he has to make his way back to the empire, or back to like the capital, I guess, but it's quite difficult for him to do so. And then the Emperor's daughter is searching for the murderer in the capital city. So I think there's two protagonists, if not more. It's fantasy and it should be really good and action-packed, and I can't wait to read this one. And then the next two books are technically ones that Quill bought. I say technically, he did buy them, but they're also ones that I'm interested in reading, so I'm going to include them here. The first one is Mortal Engines by Philip Reeve. I should know that because I've read this one already. I read this when I was 10 or 11 in school, and I remember really enjoying it, but I can't really remember anything about it, and I feel like it might have been a little bit too complicated for me to read at that age. So I'm going to reread this one and then watch the movie and probably be disappointed by the movie. But the main thing is I want to reread this book. And finally, the last book that he bought, and the last one of this haul, is The Thousand Names by Django Wexler. This is another adult fantasy that I've had my eye on for ages. This is the first book in the series that is called The Shadow Campaigns, and I've heard amazing things about this book, but then the later books seem to get a little bit bland and repetitive. But I love the sound of this one. It's about a captain who is on an isolated outpost, or in an isolated outpost, and then war breaks out. There's a rebellion and he's in charge of his own troops still, and he's struggling with that. Other than that, I don't really know much about it. I just love the sound of the rebellion and the fighting and the fantasy, I guess. I don't even know why this is a fantasy. What makes this fantastical? I don't know, but I think this sounds really, really good. Can't wait to read it, and this might be my most exciting book haul yet because I'm so excited for all of these books. So I'm never going to be able to balance all of these books up while I'm sat down. So these are most of the books that we collectively bought over the past 2 months, and thanks for watching. Let me know if there are any of these in this pile that you would be most interested in hearing about. I could read any of these right now, to be honest, so just say the word and I will get right onto that. I think I'm most excited for Head Full of Ghosts right now, even though I can't read it. It's probably because I can't read it. And then also, obviously, Kingdom of Copper. What is even going on here? There are so many books. Thank you all for watching my video, and let me know if you have any opinions on these books because I want your opinions. Thanks, and I'll speak to you in my next video. Bye!